You guys ready? Ready? All right, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, July 10th. This is the regular city commission meeting, City of Winter Haven. If I could get a roll call from our city clerk, Vanessa Castillo, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Mercer.
Here.
Commissioner Yates.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong.
Here.
And Mayor Danzler.
Here. All right, our vacation tonight will be led by Reverend Sarah Bishop with First Presbyterian Church of Winter Haven, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Vanessa Castillo, our city clerk. Please stand to fable.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving Lord, we give you thanks for this day, for the warmth of the sun as it rises, the breezes through the air as the warmth may become too much, and for the refreshment of rain on parched land. It is in this time that we gather as the entrusted leaders of the city of Winter Haven to discern the common good. May these leaders gathered here do so with wisdom, courage, and compassion. May their responsibility for our community's health and vitality be grounded in the knowledge that God's love is for all. May they hear Christ's voice to love one another and to feed and care for his sheep, to be their duty. May this truth be the grounding root in their decisions that they make together as city officials. It is in the guiding of the Holy Spirit, the powerful name of Christ Jesus, and the shalom of our Creator God that we offer these prayers. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So we've got couple of presentations tonight, but I'm going to switch the batting order a little bit. We're going to have Lakes Appreciation Month first, and then which is going to be Tom Jennings and Francis Howell Coleman. And then second, we're going to have Julie Adams, who's going to do a proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month. So if I could get our commissioners to join us down front, please.
Mayor and Commissioners, our proclamation this evening reads, whereas Winter Haven, Florida is part of a global community desires to take action to create positive environmental change. Whereas 50 lakes are contiguous to the city of Winter Haven, including the northern and southern chain of lakes. And whereas lakes are an important part of Winter Haven's way of life, providing social, economic, and ecological benefit. And whereas the city of Winter Haven has taken the lead in protecting and restoring water quality to its lakes. And whereas it is in working towards a sustainable future for our children, we must also provide them the tools and experiences they need to solve the environmental problems of the future. And whereas through constant accessible communication about environmental issues, citizens will tend to be more creative, sensitive, experimental, and flexible in resolving the challenges faced. And whereas Lakes Appreciation Month can draw people together in appreciation of Winter Haven's lakes and recognize the need to protect them for future generations. Now, therefore, Bradley T. Danzler, Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim July 2023 as Lakes Appreciation Month in the city of Winter Haven and urges all citizens to visit a lake and consider what they can do to contribute to a healthy and sustainable future. The witness whereof he is here and to set his hand and cause the seal of the city of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 10th day of July 2023. Signed, Bradley T. Danzler, Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk.
Lakes Appreciation Month is a nationally recognized event, but there is nowhere in the country where it means more than our chain of lake city. Our lakes are our most valuable and unique natural features. We have a lovely, interesting, renovated downtown that matches any other city in Central Florida. But those other cities don't have the chain of lakes to tie it together. Our Natural Resources Division has prepared the 2022 Annual Lakes Report. It is an outstanding scientific work which gives us baseline trends and will help us determine what remediation projects result in improvement. It's not easy reading, people, okay? But I strongly urge our community to start by reading the executive summary and then concentrate on a favorite lake. If a person cares and understands a lake, there is a greater chance that person will protect that resource. On behalf of the city's Lakes Advisory Committee, I want to thank you for your commitment to protect Winter Haven's most unique feature. And I'd like you to hear from Tom Jennings.
And I'll just add to that by saying I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but you have to know that the Lakes Appreciation Month was started in 1998 by the North American Lake Management Society, with the goal of illuminating the value and the importance of lakes and encourage people to take action and to appreciate and protecting our precious water resources. I would like to quote from really a relative of somebody in the crowd that wrote this past week, that says that you need to get out and celebrate our lakes. There are many ways to do it. You don't have to live on the lake to do it, but I'm speaking to the audience that you can arrange a Lakes Appreciation Night at a local eatery, or for a community fun event that you can raise funds for a local lake associations. And there are several lakes associations in the area that I'm sure most of you are aware in one way or the other. You can enhance the Florida summer with lakes activities like boating, swimming, and fishing to build a deeper appreciation for our lakes. You can consider organizing a shoreline pickup that, if only beautifies, but also improves our wildlife lakefronts. If you live a home or near the water and your home is on a septic tank, think about having your septic tank system pumped to prevent potential wastewater damage. If you're a natural enthusiast, go birding, photographing lake ponds, and if you're artistic, draw or paint a lake scene for your own enjoyment. So, like I say, I'm preaching to the choir, but this is Lakes Appreciation Month, and we are thankful that you have chosen to recognize this in the city of Winter Haven. Thank you so much.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Our next proclamation this evening will be followed by a presentation, which will have the commission be reseated for the presentation so you can see the screens. But I'll ask Julie Adams and the members of her Parks and Recreation team to come forward. Our proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Parks and Recreation programs enhance our quality of life by contributing to a healthy lifestyle, community building, economic development, and environmental sustainability. Whereas Parks and Recreation facilities and activities have become essential to our community's mental and physical fitness during this pandemic time. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs boost the economy, enhance property values, attract new business, increase tourism, and reduce crime. And whereas our parks and trails ensure ecological beauty, provide space to enjoy nature, help maintain clean air and water, and preserve plants and wildlife. And whereas recreation, therapeutic recreation, and leisure education are essential to the rehabilitation of individuals who have been ill or disabled. And whereas celebrating our achievements and successes and preparing for Florida and Winter Haven's future are all key components of Parks and Recreation. And whereas the state of Florida and the city of Winter Haven recognizes the benefits derived from dedicated and passionate public and private recreation professionals and park resources at the local and state levels. Now, therefore, Bradley T. Dantzler, Mayor of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby extend greetings, best wishes, and declares July 2023 as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Winter Haven, and urges all citizens with all of the quality of life benefits essential to sustained happiness and healthy well-being. Witness whereof he is here and to set his hand and cause the seal of the city of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 10th day of July, 2023. Signed Bradley T. Dancer, Mayor. Attest Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk. Do picture first. Photo bombing.
One, two,
So commissioners, if you want to be seated, Julie Adams does have a brief presentation for you this evening that you'll be able to watch via the screens in the dais.
It's a lot more fun to do a presentation when you've got a team behind you, so. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Commission, and my esteemed colleagues over here at the city manager's table. I'm excited to share with you tonight. I'm going to try to make it brief, although I think all of you know by now that I could probably stand up here for a week and sing the praises of the team behind me and those not with us tonight for all of the good work that we are doing in the community of Winter Haven. July is National Park and Recreation Month, and there is a big focus nationwide to be able to bring some attention to the work done by local park and recreation departments. And this year's theme is where community grows. And I think there couldn't be a more appropriate slogan for the month for what we do and connection to the community. So since 1985, people across the United States have celebrated National Park and Recreation Month to promote building strong, vibrant, and resilient communities throughout the power of parks and recreation. Tonight, again, I get to tell the story of what we do here locally to affect our citizenry, our kids, our adults, and our seniors. So I think three of the biggest things that we get to do through our touch to the community is bring people together, provide essential services, and foster the growth of the community. Before I begin, though, talking about what we do here, I just want to shed a little light on some numbers that are pretty impactful across the nation as gathered by the National Recreation Park Association. According to NRPA's 2022 Engagement with Parks report, 275 million people in the US visited a local park or recreation facility at least once during the past year. Nearly 3 in 4 US residents have at least one local park, playground, open space, or recreation center within walking distance of their homes. 9 in 10 people agree that parks and recreation is an important service provided by their local government. Additionally, local park and recreation agencies generated nearly 218 billion with a B in economic activity, supported nearly 1.3 million jobs. I think that's pretty impactful, pretty great. Makes me smile when I get to talk about us on a local level. So let's jump in. So I think it's pretty apropos since we're in July to kick off with talking about our Camp Off the Chain. That's our summer camp program. You see some participation photos from current year and years past. We have 3 locations for this program: the Field House, Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center, and Rotary Park. We are deep in the heart of summer right now in our summer camp program. We have 8 weeks filled with lots of field trips, enrichment for the kids, arts and crafts, and swimming, of course. What would a summer camp be without swimming? This year, registration was filled for our program within 36 hours of kicking off. So that's definitely a need for growth in the future, and we're working on remedies for that for summer 2024. Next is our senior center. Our senior center is run by Jackie Richardson. She's here with us tonight. And Jackie has helped us come back from that pandemic time and bringing back the senior center to a thriving place for our seniors in our community. This is an awesome picture of them cutting a rug out on the dance floor at the senior center. So if you guys want to practice your moves, please feel free to call Jackie. She'll get you connected. We do have exercise 5 days a week. We have a meal program 5 days a week, bingo every Wednesday. So we know how we love bingo, and monthly opportunities for classes for dance as well. This next slide is one that's near and dear to me. Two of my favorite generations are our babies, our kiddos, and also our most experienced generation. And this is Annie Davis. She's the oldest female senior at 99 years old. She attends the senior center 3 days a week and loves to play bingo. So I hear she's got an open challenge out. So if anybody's ready to take her on, please come and join us at the senior center. Next, we have our aquatics area of our department. Adam is behind me and runs our aquatics area. So aquatics, obviously, when you think of aquatics, you think of open swim. Mostly your next stop would be swim lessons, which is what is pictured here. Really proud of the growth that we have been able to provide to the swim lesson area. In 2022, the aquatics team taught 1,118 swim lessons. As of this summer, current time period compared to last year at this time, we're already ahead of pace by 208 lessons. And we're on track to provide between 1,500 and 1,600 lessons this year. So definitely a reflection of the growth that we have been able to provide in that very critical area. Another area of our aquatics part of our department are the life-saving efforts provided by our lifeguards. So the lifeguards obviously are trained. We offer those training classes in-house. We do have water safety instructor training that does occur within house as well for the swim lessons that we just discussed. We have accumulated over 30 saves so far this summer, which is a pretty normal number, but it's just a reflection of the amount of people that we have within our pool, the good job that our lifeguards are doing in keeping that water safe, and the awareness that we have regarding water safety. One of the coolest parts I think about a parks and recreation and in our city culture department is the impact we have on kids that may have been a participant in our program and grow up to either participate as an employee or come back and join us and make it full circle. We do have an employee currently that started off in lessons at our pool, and I would like for you guys to get an opportunity to hear from Hayes. Oops, AJ, can you help me?
No sound.
No sound. Well, this is Hayes Halleck, and he was no sound. Okay.
Any lip readers in the audience?
I know, right? I've listened to it enough. I might be able to give it a shot, but this is Hayes Halleck, and he is a current lifeguard with us. He will be entering his junior year in high school. He was a part of swim lessons at Rowdy Gaines Pool, was a swimmer with the club team there, and is a swimmer currently in high school. He speaks to the fact that he's really proud of that this is his second summer spent lifeguarding with us, and is just thankful for the opportunity to have in his short life a lifelong experience at the pool. All right, as we transition, keeping with the, oh, I was going to go back. Okay. You're getting a preview further into the presentation. I apologize. I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, great. So keeping with the aquatics theme, this is a pilot program that we have going on at the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center this summer. That is our aqua yoga program, which is awesome for those that may not know how to swim or maybe a little bit fearful of the water. It's taught in shallow water, as you see here, with the instructor on the deck. This is a program that Brandon Richard, our facility manager, who's behind me here for the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center, he was able to recruit to the facility. We've also got a fit and sit program at the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center this summer as well. So looking to expand those opportunities, kind of a cool opportunity there. Also, this one is neat. We had a community member Mr. Norris Horton approached Brandon and want to be able to connect the kids in the community to the game of golf. And so he has begun with Brandon's help, an activity or a class on Saturdays to be able to teach the kids not only the game of golf, but the etiquette of the game of golf as well. And as you can see, they almost have it figured out because most of them are holding the club correctly. So it is working. And as you can see there on the back row, we have our biggest kid, Brandon, participating as well. Part of Parks and Rec, you got to be a big kid. Another class is our karate class, which is also at the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center. You can see some of the moves there. And then our Youth Advisory Council, we're still in our pilot program of the Youth Advisory Council. T. Michael, you may remember this evening, going back to December, we have our pilot group for the program of 8 members, a mix of 8th and 9th graders. They meet on the first Tuesday of each month. They're looking into focusing on giving back to the community. They actually have a service project coming up soon on the 15th of July to paint a few houses within the community. This is another one. We'll see if it works. If not, we'll cut and go. Okay. No worries. You can just take me to the next slide. This was just a testimonial of the afternoon book club. And there was one of the members talking about just how much impact that club has made on her life and the ability to connect with people over reading and how important that is. Jane Martin's with us tonight, our librarian, and her coworker Corey Greer is the staff person that's tied into that program. Okay, and moving on to tennis, one of our most thriving programs that we have. These participation numbers may not look high to you, but if you focus on the growth. So since 2021 for our youth program in summer, we've seen an increase almost double for the kids in tennis. And I mean, just from where I sit every day in my office, I can stand up and look out and see what Dave has going over there for the participation and just the growth of that sport. Additionally, the USDA tennis leagues are growing. We've seen an increase of 34 players just in 1 year, which is a huge growth spurt for that game. Moving on to some of the community impact we have. Juneteenth, we just experienced our 3rd annual successful Juneteenth event, a community committee that we work side by side with to plan this awesome event. This was the night of the proclamation, and we've grown that event now to a 3-day event, which was a town hall, a movie night, and a celebration. Moving on to Rockin' Freedom Fest. This was early on in the evening. Later on, you wouldn't have been able to see any puddles of grass from that standpoint, but that was from behind the band looking into the park. An awesome event. We ordered no rain and we got it, so we could call it a win. And looking backwards into our MLK week from earlier in the year, excited to be able to provide a week-long celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This was one of the impactful community events that we had at MLK Park. Into a Trail Town designation. So Andy Palmer is behind me somewhere over here and was hugely responsible for that designation that we celebrated back in December of 2022. This was one of the photos from an event that we had called the Slow Roll, where people celebrated in the community the Trail Town designation and a slow ride down into MLK Park. And finally, one of the coolest, I like to say downtown just went to the dogs, and we had our canine courtyard grand opening. I would like to point out that Lily did not get the memo, MJ. She's, doing her thing, which is fine. And so, yes, this was one of our most recent events that we're really proud of. So before I close out, I just wanted to make sure that I had addressed or introduced my entire team. So we talked about Jane. This is Natalie Wilson, our special event coordinator. Angie Hibbert is our CRA project manager. We have Adam Butler with aquatics, Steve Pruitt with Parks and Grounds, Brandon Richard with the Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center, Scott Eilers, assistant director, jack of all trades, Jackie Richardson with our senior center, and of course, Andy Palmer, our strategic initiatives and projects planner. So it is on the backs of many that we are able to do all of what we do. It is a true team effort, not only with Parks and Recreation, but with our partner departments here in the city. There is an amazing support for what we do day in and day out from you all. And so I want to say thank you for that. You can look around this city and see the true commitment to Parks and Recreation. And so I appreciate, I know I went a little long, but I thank you for your time tonight, and myself and my team, we appreciate you.
So Julie, before you sit down, how many people are we feeding in the senior center? I miss, maybe Jackie can answer that, but
Anywhere from 140 to 250 on the week.
for the whole week.
140 to 200. I just want to make sure that.
And those are, anybody can eat that. It doesn't have to, there's no,
Yeah, 60 years.
okay. And is it free or do we charge?
Free.
It's free? Okay. Right.
They feed them breakfast and lunch, so you get a bag breakfast and then they'll get a hot lunch. So
It's
breakfast.
gotta
is
be a
served-
popular program. for a lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
people.
it is.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I was also going to mention Tom and Francis before you guys leave. I was speaking today to a group of youngsters and they were there is a Boy Scout troop looking for a service project, and they specifically mentioned cleaning up lakefronts. And you guys mentioned that tonight. So it's the Boy Scout troop at Beamer. And I can connect you with them if you would like, but they're looking for a service project in lakes. And so there you go. So anyway, okay, just want to pass it on. All right. Next up, Heart for Winter Haven Grant Partnership Report.
So, Mayor, Commissioners, you may recall that we had, about this time last year, heard a proposal from Heart for Winter Haven for their funding request to continue to address homelessness within our community and housing insufficiencies, particularly targeting families that have school-aged children. And they would come back in at routine intervals and provide updates for us. For my office and Eric Labby's team. We met with Brad and his folks probably 2 weeks ago, thereabout. And wanted to come back and provide you a presentation from them this evening on what their efforts have been this year, the successes they have achieved so far. And we still have about 3 months to go, and then also give some insights into their plans into the future. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Brad and his team.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. Appreciate your having us come to report. This our 4th year of partnership with the City of Winter Haven at addressing student homelessness, and we're couldn't be more happy to be here to share the results. Our first slide shows just our general goals that we set for the 22-23 year, was to rehouse 10 families who are currently experiencing homelessness, prevent 20 families who are at risk of homelessness facing eviction, and then provide all the families that come to us with good case management and stabilization services. And then this year we added a new component of creating and administering an accessory dwelling unit grant. So we'll circle back to that and go through where we have, and then my colleague B. Gallison is going to also kind of just share what the difference between rehousing and eviction prevention, just through a couple of case studies, very short. But the first to rehouse 10 families. So far we've provided safe, secure, stable housing for 8 families who are experiencing homelessness, providing them with a foundation for long-term stability and improved quality for life. And an example of that he is going to share.
We have been working with a single mother that had been displaced 2 years ago and was currently living in one of the Winter Haven motels with 7 children. In order to be in a hotel, you would have to have 2 separate rooms. So her income was sustaining her to have 2 separate rooms, but she didn't have the funds that needed to be available to move into secured housing. During that time, we actually started working with a developer from Winter Haven that was working on a new build. He agreed to go in partnership with us and rent this to the family at fair market value, which is something that's hard for us to come by. So based on her income. And even though she had an eviction and we were able to show the management that we had provided with her with financial literacy and having an assigned case manager that would continue into her housing and get her and her family rehoused, as well as partnering with one of our local churches to get the house fully furnished by their nonprofit.
So that's what rehousing looks like. So we're able to take a family of 6 children who are having 2 years of homelessness, living in a hotel, and get them in stable housing. So that's a real win. Secondly, prevent 20 families who are currently at risk, who have that eviction in hand. So far this year, we've intervened to effectively prevent 21 families who are facing imminent eviction and to ensure their access to safe and affordable housing and promote stability within our community. And Bea has another quick story to talk about that.
We were working with a family, the 4, and the mother had got laid off in 2022 from her job and was working doing DoorDash and Uber services, creating them not to have stable income in the house. Their rent had become past due and the landlord was working with them to keep them housed, but they could not catch up on what was current and also what they had in arrears. Working with the family, we were able to help update their resume and help them facilitate a connection with UPS, which she got employed that created stable income for the family. They completed a 12-week financial literacy program, as well as we were able to help them with getting caught up on their rent so they could pay forward with their stabilization services. And since then, they've established a $300 emergency savings, as well as entered into one of our other programs that provides matching of $300 for them, creating additional stability in case they have another emergency.
And those kinds of services that Bea was describing, those are the case management services. So the city has been, that's part of our agreement together, is to provide that for all of our Winter Haven families. And those are the kind of outcomes that we're seeing are real, are, better employment, housing stability, and families that are going to succeed long term. So we've provided that so far this year to over 30 families. So anybody that comes in, even if they don't qualify, or if housing assistance, rental assistance is not what's needed, we still provide them with those same services. The last is our accessory dwelling unit grant. And after some work with our city planning, we were able to develop that grant process and that application. Took a little longer than we expected, but we have had 2 complete applications. One of them is pending approval now. The other was denied, but it did help enlighten us as to some of the challenges. And so the city manager has actually asked the city planning department to kind of relook at some of the definitions of ADUs within Winter Haven to possibly expand that where it makes sense, so that we can, hopefully approve more than just that one. But it took a little bit longer for us to get that whole process ironed out, but I think now we have a good process to get out and market to the community. So the next slide is really just a breakdown of the money that you all approved and that was allocated for those 2 programs and how that's spent. The obvious gray line shows that we haven't spent, but we haven't drawn down any of that money for the accessory dwelling units. But most of that has already been expended and used. Next is just a little bit of a picture of what those 30 families that have 63 children, 43 adults here in Winter Haven that we have either were homeless and are now housed, or were facing imminent homelessness. And you see a real trend up in the last couple of months. That's largely in part because the existing rental assistance available through the county that we've been a big part of, that has kind of maxed out. It's getting near the end, or people have maxed out in those areas. So in just the last couple of months, we've seen a rapid use of that money, which will lead us to one of the recommendations that this city manager had for us. This is a little bit of a breakdown of just where the schools are. So this would be the qualifying student. And as expected, we thought Winter Haven High School was the highest number there. That's where the highest number of homeless students that is identified by the HARP program. exists. I think about 85. We just got some raw numbers today, and I hope to be able to come back to, give a final report and break down what I think is going to be really good news for us in Winter Haven. But you can see a pretty wide range. Strangely, Chain Lakes Elementary is higher. Garner is high. Garden Grove, which had been our highest, is a little bit less, but we've done a lot of work in other rental assistance in that area. So this leads to kind of our request, and both for this current year and then for proposal for 23-24 budget is that is it just since that money has already been allocated on the suggestion of the city manager, is to create some fungibility with that money so that we can set aside money for the applications that will be approved before the end of the fiscal year, but then to use that other money for rental assistance, because we just anticipate a growing need all the way through the end of the fiscal year. And we think that that would be a good use of that. And then for the next budget year, just build in that fungibility. We'll anticipate using it for the ADUs or as requested, but it just gives us that flexibility to move that money around as needed and then come back and report to you on a regular basis. That's it. Any questions?
Okay, commissioners, questions? Anybody before I ask mine? Anybody? So Brad, and thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you guys being here. Means a lot. So from the beginning of our relationship with you, I have wanted to have the opportunity to have people that have a broken air conditioner or a roof that's broken, that you could actually fix that. And you're now doing that, right? Is that what that last bullet point was of before that can you go back, whoever's running this thing here? Yeah. Accessory dwelling unit grant, is that kind of like finally what we're trying to get to on that?
Yes, exactly. Is
Okay.
to get those existing housing units that are considered accessory dwelling units, get them online if they're offline. What we've run into though is how the code kind of talks about that. So we want to make sure that it lines up. So we're not funding something that code does not agree with that could be used. For instance, an attached ADU currently is not eligible as an ADU. Is that right, Eric? So they're looking at, could that be changed? Because then that would open up an attached garage, an attached in-law suite, that kind of thing. But that's exactly the reason, is to provide a little bit of money and then make that available to us for the families that we're trying to house.
Now, you and I from the beginning have talked about like abandoned mobile homes, abandoned properties. Does that fit in there, or is that something else? Because I keep thinking that was something that your potential your maybe your interns might find, or something they could scam the whole.
So our goal is to join in with the public, to do the public service safety walk, is to join in on that in some of the areas that have more ADUs, and it just, knock on some doors and put some door hangers out in those areas to direct market to folks that already have those ADUs. So we're working at identifying that. We've hired somebody contract and try to go through and identify who has those already in place so that we can just reach out to those folks.
Okay. So what are the clawbacks? In other words, if you spend $5,000 on a new air conditioner, what's the requirement? Do they have to keep it in the program with you guys for a number of years, or what?
Yeah, we asked for a 3-year commitment
3 years.
to make it available to us at a market rate or below market rate, depending on the amount of the grant award.
And does it just apply to Winter Haven, city Winter Haven people, or Winter Haven service area?
Just city of Winter Haven city limits. We've kept it specific to just within the city limits.
Well, that's great and admirable, but if it's, I don't think, I'm not speaking for my commission, but if it's a Winter Haven service area and because we need more inventory. I know you've told me that a million times, but if it's like Garden Grove and that's in the county, but it's a Winter Haven house, I think that might T, you're looking at me like, I'm going down some road I'm not supposed to be going down.
I'd be cautious on that just because it's property that's outside the corporate city limits. We can certainly look into it, but I would,
Even though it's a service area deal.
even though it's service area, sir, I think
Okay.
that we're utilizing fund, to spend money in those areas that's tied to the utility, I believe would be, certainly appropriate because the utility system extends there, but because we're dealing with city of Winter Haven taxpayer dollars to spend those outside of the taxpayer jurisdiction, I
Okay.
would caution on.
We're looking for additional funding for outside Winter Haven to try to see if we can meet that need, because we see the same thing, especially the older neighborhoods like Inwood have a lot of those ADUs. So we've actually been in conversation with the county about that as well.
Okay.
But I think it's a great idea.
And last question, from what I can tell, your greatest use of funds is rental assistance. Is that by a pretty wide margin?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that eviction prevention, that ounce of prevention being the most effective way to address homelessness. And so that's really where we've concentrated the most effort. So B and our case manager team make sure that those folks going forward be able to make that rent. So we work with them to make sure they have the stability to qualify for those leases and to make that rent. So just that little bit of help is kind of helping push them over the edge, but it is the most impactful way, as that article that you shared pointed out.
And you can assure all the commission up here as well as our staff that you have a very robust program to qualify these people and to make sure that it's truly a need and.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that they're sustainable. So if somebody doesn't have income going forward, we're not going to spend that money. We're working we really are talking about working families and workforce housing primarily. Affordable housing is also a great part of this, but workforce housing is where we see the biggest need and the biggest just overpricing right now. Rental rates are just, overpriced at the moment.
With an emphasis on families with children.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Exactly. 2-3 bedroom houses.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, if he's answered all your questions there,
I'll be
I
quiet.
think certainly answer. The question's good. I got to spend about an hour plus with Brad last week, and if you look at the table that's on your chart on your monitors right now, one of the things that they are requesting, and I would certainly be supportive of with commission's favorable consideration, is where you see inventory development, that is that accessory dwelling unit support, and they have $75,000 that was committed to that to be drawn down as those come online. Given that the rental assistance and the rehousing assistance and the hotel vouchers is just about to their $85,000 bucket that was earmarked for that. One of the requests is to allow for some fungibility within that inventory development so that if they need additional dollars in the current fiscal year to provide rental assistance and rehousing assistance, they can draw down on that. Otherwise it's money that is just sitting there, and if there's an actual need for it. So that would be a consideration that the commission could act on this evening to allow for that. As it stands right now, that is specifically earmarked only for inventory development. So giving them some latitude to further provide services in those other areas using those dollars is
So you're talking about current fiscal year, we can vote
Current
tonight to allow
Yes,
this.
sir.
We don't need to do anything else. John, you're shaking your head.
No, we're good. If you are inclined to do that,
Okay,
do that tonight.
gives them some more flexibility to respond to immediate needs.
which is clearly where the need is. Brian?
I did think of a couple of questions. You had a couple of houses that were ready to roll, I know, a while back. Do you still have those houses in inventory?
Yes.
Is it, and it still continues to just be the problem of finding the dirt for the houses?
And we think we've solved that problem. We're talking to a local church that has some land available for lease. So now we're just making those arrangements clear and making sure there's some things that need to be done for site preparation, that kind of thing, make sure that it is going to fit. But we are actively looking for property to try to build workforce housing and affordable housing options for people.
And is the relationship good with Hartford Winter Haven and the Blue Sky folks, the home, the affordable housing
The
that's
Castle and Blue
developed?
Sky. Yeah, we've reached out to them. They have I think attended some of our local housing partnership meetings that we've had here at the city. And certainly would want to work with them more because they've indicated they're actively interested in doing more, large multifamily. Our interest is more in small infill development and that kind of thing. We see that as a big missing ingredient in the piece to the puzzle.
My concern from day one is always, as you know, has always been we're building these, or we're helping to support the building of affordable and workforce housing and getting people in from Osceola County and surrounding counties that come in and gobble it up before our Winter Haven residents have the opportunity to get it. I just want to be sure that we continue to be on the forefront of doing whatever we can to put Winter Haven residents first in obtaining that housing.
So in our plan then, we're getting exactly what the requirements will be for the property management group that's going to be renting that up so that we can get our local residents well prepared so that when that electronic queue opens up, our folks have everything that they need. It was pretty successfully done in Lakeland in the apartments that they opened there. It was primarily Lakeland people that ended up in that. And so our plan is just to get our folks prepared. So we're partnering with some local churches and we're gonna do some workshops prior to their queuing up for their rent up so that we make sure that happens to the best of our ability.
And last question, as far as the reallocation of the inventory development funds, is there an amount that you're thinking would work? Are you looking to get 100% of it? Are you looking to get 50,000 of it?
We think we have of the two, if the one application that is pending, and then with the other one, if there's a reversal there, or an allowance to qualify as an ADU, that's going to be about 25,000. So we're thinking probably 50,000 of the 75 we'd like to add into the rental assistance. And when you look at the chart of the usage just the last couple of months, that will go a long way. I mean, we could probably go through that next month.
We spent 51,000 in June, between rehousing and rental assistance, due to a lot of the families in Winter Haven have already maxed out resources from CARES Act.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to allow for the reallocation of up to $50,000 from the inventory, the screen change. What was it called?
Inventory development.
Inventory development into the rental assistance pool.
Thank you. We have a motion. I'll close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions, comments on this motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion passes. All right, so last thing, Brad, I want to say to anybody listening, we appreciate what you're doing because we as a community and a board up here, we all are on board with you and we know that we can't do it and you can. So as we work through these processes, we're going to always be a little push and pull, but we appreciate all you guys are doing, and Winter Haven's lucky to have you guys and that you're here in town and you're doing these kind of things, and it makes all of us happy and feel good that there's something being done. So keep it up, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So
Thank you. It's a great team effort.
yep, it sure is. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
You can clap. Go ahead. It's all that's worthy.
if I could, you have before you also, and this is not for any action this evening, but we provided to you their proposal for fiscal year 23-24. And you can see that it is laid out in the same format as the what was presented last year. It does denote, if you look on the first page towards the bottom of that chart, the total program expenses. It denotes fungibility for those program expenses, again allowing for some flexibility to most effectively address the needs that are at hand. Those can change from time to time. So if there's a lot of dwelling units, accessory dwelling units that come online, gives them an opportunity to deal with that, or if it's more in the rehousing. I will tell you that the budget proposal that will be coming before you from the finance team in my office next Wednesday does include this amount within the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
So this is the ask 220.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we have budgeted accordingly for that for your consideration in your budget proceedings.
Good, Brian.
So we're continuing to contribute annually to that fund as well, right?
Yes,
An
sir.
amount of 250,000.
Yes, sir. $250,000 comes from the general fund every year to go into that Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It also has the prior allocations that we did.
And are those funds earning, is there an interest rate that's given to those funds that's growing that balance?
Yeah, that's an interest earning. And I can find out before your budget briefing what that looks like.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Harper Winter Haven, for being here tonight. On to developments of note. We have none. Minutes. Commissioners, you have the minutes from the June 7th, 2023 agenda review session minute and the June 12th regular city commission meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
And also the June 21st agenda review session.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Move approval of all three sets of minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve all three sets of minutes. I'll close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public want to comment on anything in the minutes, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Comments from the audience. We've had one person sign up, but anybody's welcome. Laura Douglas, are you still here, Laura? If you'd come forward, you give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes, please. Laura, we need you to give us your name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Laura Douglas. I'll take this off so you can hear me better, and I'll take off my glasses. My name is Laura Douglas, and I live in Winter Haven. I'm a resident here. My presentation isn't visual. It is vocal. So I'd like to just play this for you, if you don't mind. I've heard a lot of lovely comments tonight, and I have to say every one of them was true. I surely do love my city. I love my people that are helping to keep this city as beautiful as what was commented, and I want to also bring in some of those comments. Julie said that, you know, her motto was to grow this community. Well, it grows on Friday and Saturday and now Sunday nights. Especially between the hours of 12 and 2 in the morning, with a bunch of gangs and people coming to Spring Lake Plaza. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. This happens every weekend, and it's been happening since January 1st. From January 1st to the first part of April, there was 122 police calls, records. I don't know how many since then. I know there was a court hearing and there is a violation against a restaurant and Landmark, who is owned by Steve G. Adams. I don't want to say where he lives, I know. Now there is also a large event center that you're debating on, we'll call Lola's, who is asking for a variance for their liquor license. Well, the gentleman that is running the restaurant that is in violation of his court thing, and as of like the end of May, I don't know why he's still open. But anyways, the variance is because there's a church a couple of doors down from Lola's. So that's what that's about. And the strip mall has 2 zoning areas. Don't know if you're aware of that. But the last section of it is a place where he doesn't have to come to the commission to ask for approval. And that's why that restaurant is in there, running as a nightclub. Hookah lounge, they charge for that. They have a covered charge, they have DJs, they have promoters. So I would really like this mess cleaned up. And I ask you to please do not trust Steve G. Adams. He does not have your best interest. I have been to other commission meetings and have tried to have stopped other things, like a gentleman from Haines City that wanted to open up over there too. I'm an old lady, as you can see. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'll be a little bit older. Yeah. I have tried to stop what's going in over there, and Mr. Adams continues to try to get things in there and doesn't seem to care or try to get them out. So here's the letter that I sent to you that some of you said you didn't get last time. That was supposed to be rescheduled to tonight. I've tried contacting some of you people here. I contacted one lady and asked to see if I could meet with her. A month later, I got a phone call from her saying her phone, she just realized didn't work. I've talked to Mr. Bates. I appreciate you coming back to me. I've talked to Captain Nunnery. I've talked to Mr. Bird, and I've talked to Mr. T. Michael, can't pronounce your last name, forgive me. And some other people, and you guys are all very much aware of it. I can help with some of the problems. I've got the people coming in that wants to increase your community at those hours. These people that are helping the homeless, maybe if you ticketed those people that's making the loud noise, it's against the law, or loitering, or, you know, all the police calls. If you had to come to my house for false.
Laura? Happy birthday. I'm gonna give you one more minute, but
No,
you could
no,
certainly have
no,
another
no,
minute
you're
if you'd like.
Yes, okay. But I think Mr. Adams needs to be paying some of the fines for all the police that you have going over there. Yeah, it's not a nice neighborhood, and I open to comments. What are you going to do, and what are you going to do in the future?
Thank you so much. We've got our police department. I know that they're aware of the situation. And T, do you want to take this one, or?
Well, we have met, and certainly this is a situation that we have an awareness of. We've gone through nuisance abatement through the court system. I'll ask the city attorney to provide some insights on that. Unfortunately, getting things done, there are challenges that you have to deal with in the timing of all that. Going back to the court system, and that is what we're in the process of doing, but I'll let John elaborate there.
What the city manager has said, as you all may know, my law partner, David Carmichael, who routinely appears for the city on behalf of risk protection orders and other matters involving the police department, along with other partners of my law firm. We've gone to court, as Ms. Douglas has noted, and we are in the process right now of communicating with the attorney for Mr. Adams. And hopefully we'll be able to provide some more court intervention as it relates to the property owner. As it stands right now, there is an injunction been issued against the tenant, but that doesn't appear to be doing anything.
No.
And so we are very much aware of that, and we are moving forward, and I've been keeping the city manager and staff, Charlie Bird, others apprised of that, and we'll continue to do so as we navigate through the pending action in the court system.
I just want to make a clarification on Lola's. Take 1 second. You also know that there was an after party Friday night that was starting at 2:30 and running till 5 o'clock there. And you had police over there, maybe about 8 or 10 of them. They are street racing, doing burnouts in the parking lot. So just to let everybody know what's being done.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
I love this area, and I want this cleaned up.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. We hear you and we're doing what we can. So thank you for being here. So. Okay, anybody else like to speak to the body at this time? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we will run on to, oh, we do have somebody. Okay, yes, please come forward. Give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes too.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Pierre Francois. I live at 3366 Avenue S, Northwest Winter Haven, Florida. This is my husband, Jean Pierre Francois, and we are the owners of Lola's Event Center. According to, I'm sorry, Mr. Colbert, Ms. Douglas, we were not aware of no after party at our place because we were at the time having a private event. Our doors were locked when Winter Haven Police Department showed up, and the lights were coming on at the time Winter Haven Police showed up. We are not affiliated with the spot, the restaurant across the street, and we are waiting for our approval for the variance. We do have a meeting on the 21st and also August 1st. So unfortunately, we are not aware and we are not affiliated with the spot. That flyer that was going around that I recently saw, we were not aware of it. And we are a private event center where people or clients are allowed to come and book as needed, whatever events they're like. And we supply whatever like decorations and music if needed. But we've never had the police call on us at Lola's Event Center. And we have not had any trouble with our clients that's been there already.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, we have ordinance second reading, but I'm gonna turn it over to John. I think we want to table this before we go into this. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, based on some recent development in case law and in the statutory law enacted by the governor, or signed into law by the governor, ask that you table these two items for business until further time.
So
Thank you.
9A and 9B will be tabled until further notice.
If you could entertain a motion to that effect and vote
Yep.
on that.
Commission, can I get a motion, please? Table 9A and 9B.
So move.
Thank you. We have motion to table 9A and 9B till later. I'll close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public want to speak to these action, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. You reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Commissioners, you have in front of you the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole. I'll close the city commission meeting and open the public hearing. Anybody want to speak to any item on the consent agenda, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Quick, commissioners, any questions or comments on any item on the consent agenda? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. On the resolution, this is item 11A on your agenda, R2326. This is adopting the 2022 annual Lakes Report. City Attorney, title only, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number R-23-26. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, making findings, approving and adopting the 2022 annual Lakes Report, providing for severability, the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm going to turn this over to Brittany Hart. Devin, who's going to present our Lakes Report, but you heard from two of the most passionate people earlier today with Francis Coleman, Howell, and Tom Jennings, who are members of that LAC. I'm just going to, before I give this to these guys, just want to say that this report that you guys, I think, all have a copy of, probably the hard copy of it. Devin puts this together with his team, and just want to personally compliment him again. You could do a PhD on the amount of research that goes into putting this thing together every year, and he's done it 3 or 4 years now, probably longer. And it is one of the most outstanding documents that's produced inside of our organization. So with that, I'll turn it over to staff for their presentations.
Good evening, Commissioners. As Francis and City Manager just mentioned, the annual Lakes Report is an outstanding scientific work put together by Devin, our environmental scientist, and the Natural Resources team, which is led by Dustin Everett, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us this evening. This document is technical yet approachable, and something I would encourage everybody who has interest in our city lakes and water quality to read. And Devin is ready to present to you the 2022 annual Lakes Report.
Thank you so much for allowing me to talk about this report today. I'm happy to be here to represent our natural resources team, who unfortunately could not be here today, but are here in spirit, and definitely appreciate the ability to recognize and enjoy the month of July as Lakes Appreciation Month. Our team not only takes care of the lakes, which are a cornerstone of our community, but we also help manage various other natural resources, including our trees, public places, natural wildlife areas. So our efforts are pretty wide reaching. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments that we've seen in the past year. We saw the completion of phase 1 of Lake Conine Nature Park project. That's a series of constructed wetland areas to treat an over 400-acre drainage basin to improve the water quality of Lake Conine. We saw completion of the 3 alum systems on Lakes May, Howard, and Lulu. Alum or aluminum sulfate is a compound used to bind to phosphorus and other pollutants in stormwater to help treat and clean up that water before it can get out to the lakes. Our team also helped to plan and execute a lot of the Hurricane Ian relief efforts, including organizing the sandbag station and assisting our streets and drainage crew with hurricane cleanup and inspection efforts. And we do a lot of public outreach and education. 23 events this past year, where we reached over 1,100 individuals. And in other areas of our roles, we have done work to try and cut costs on things like herbicide application, where we've previously done with contractors to do the majority of the nuisance vegetation removal along our public lake shore, ditches and swales. All of our team has been able to acquire herbicide applicator certification so that we can now do that in-house. Our urban forestry management plan was completed this past year, and that details a lot of practices and efforts to protect and restore our city's urban forests, which we are a Tree City USA certified. And of course, the subject of this presentation today, the annual lakes report. So the objective of the report is to not only track the overall health of our water bodies, but also the city's management efforts and strategies. We use the data that we collect and analyze to drive our management decisions, just so that we can add a layer of objectivity to our management efforts. And we also utilize this document to compile and disseminate the information contained to not only our public, our partner organizations like FDP, FWC, and SwiftMud, but also to the general public. And this way, this is why this report is not only technically and scientifically sound, but also generally approachable, accessible. To that end, we laid out the report in a format that is as accessible as we can make it, and we always strive to improve and evolve this format so that folks without a degree in marine biology or environmental science can take a look at it and actually get something out of it. We have an introductory section that provides background information on the metrics that we use to evaluate the lakes, on the purpose of the report, as well as where the lakes are located and what types of metrics that we are looking for. We have a management strategy section that goes into detail regarding all the different management efforts that the city utilizes to protect and preserve our lakes. And the data presentation analysis section is where anyone can take a deep dive into the actual data, where they can find the figures and graphs, and also get lake-specific management effort information. So with that, one of the biggest changes that we saw in this past year was in that data presentation analysis section, where in the past we've had this section grouped by lakes in a particular geographic region. So the southern chain, the northern chain, then the north central lakes, such as Silver, Idle, and Markham and Long. We wanted to make it easier for anybody to pinpoint a specific lake and go to that section and get the relevant information that they need, instead of having to parse through those lake groups that, in the end of the day, it was somewhat arbitrary. So we've done our best to try and improve the way that folks interact with this information and streamline the process of finding the data that they need. This new data presentation section like I said, is organized by lake in alphabetical order. We provided a lot more graphs and visualizations and provided a lot more inferences and insights into the management strategies that we're utilizing. Some of the graphs and visualizations that you can find in this section include species data, aquatic vegetation abundance heat maps, drainage basin characteristics, water quality trends and impairment information, as well as surface levels and lake bed morphology information. So I know a lot of that's just a bunch of big words, but it's interesting to some. In addition to the static version of the report, which is the version that you guys all have, we have the interactive online version that summarizes that static report into an interactive storytelling format. So it utilizes ArcGIS, story maps, applications, and a lot of visualizations of the data on desktops and mobile devices, and that data is readily available to download from the application. So if you want to take a deep dive into it, it's all there and ready to access. And with that, I wanted to kind of transition and give a brief summary of where our lakes are at, state of the lakes, if you will. One of the biggest metrics that we look at when it comes to lake health is water quality. And that includes parameters like chlorophyll, total nitrogen, and total phosphorus. These are the regulatory parameters that the Florida Department of Protection utilize to indicate impairment based on the numeric nutrient criteria. Based on the data from 2022, we can say that over half of our lakes are now meeting regulatory standards, which is up from 37% in the 5 years that we've started monitoring these lakes, which is a huge improvement. We've seen impairments removed from lakes Deer, Fanny, Otis, and Rochelle, and impairments reduced on lakes Conine, Holmes, Partridge, and Idlewild. Of those 18 impaired water bodies that remain, 2/3 of those are currently exhibiting statistically significant improving trends in more than one category. Got the entire list there, I'm not going to read through it, but it just goes to show how far we've come in managing these lakes and the amount of progress we've made, which is tremendous considering that this progress is really incremental. But that doesn't mean that our job is over. We still have a handful of lakes that are exhibiting declining trends in water quality. Lakes Elbert, Hamilton, Partridge, Mariana, Martha, and Ned are these water bodies that we really need to focus more of our management effort and funding on. In addition to water quality, the hydrology of the area is very important. As you know, we sit on a sandy ridge. All of our water comes from rainfall. Fortunately, in this past year, we received almost 65 inches of rainfall, which is well above the average of about 52 inches that we get every year. The majority of that fell during August and September. In addition to Hurricane Ian, we did receive quite a few afternoon thunderstorms. So this resulted in, you look to the far right side. The far right side of the graph, you'll see the end of the 2022 year hydrograph for the southern chain of lakes. The peak there shows that that's the second highest these lakes have been since the hurricane season of 2004. Of course, was when Hurricane Francis, Pearl, and Jean came through. So currently we are sitting very high when it comes to water levels in our lakes. But why is that important? Water levels aren't just important for safety due to flooding and other concerns. Navigation and recreation, because if the water levels are too high or too low, folks have a hard time getting to their docks or getting through canals. But because of water quality, almost 2/3 of our lakes are correlated. There's correlation between water level and water quality, such that a higher water level will result in improved water quality. And that indicates that we need to focus on projects and efforts that promote stormwater storage and groundwater infiltration. And fortunately, our Natural Resources Division, partnering with Winter Haven Water, has done a lot of work with the One Water Master Planning effort to try and make some of those projects a reality. So we're well on our way. Speaking of those potential goals in the future, here are just a few that I wanted to highlight for the upcoming fiscal year. since we've completed the stormwater treatment aspects of Lake Kenai Nature Park, we are ready to begin phase 2, which is the installation of recreational amenities. That's walking trails, boardwalks, restroom facilities, playgrounds, those sort of amenities to make this a true park, a recreational place for our residents to enjoy. Now that we have the urban forestry management completed, the next step is implementing this plan through actions like trees planting, tree surveys, and public outreach and education, which may eventually result in some ordinance changes with regards to our landscape codes. Stormwater improvements, so dealing with the primary driver of water quality in our lakes. So that's maintenance of our existing stormwater infrastructure, as well as the construction of new stormwater improvements, including the Lake Elbert Trail project, which will be including some rain gardens as part of that to help deal with the increase in pollutant load to that lake, which is the top of our priority list. Public outreach and education is a big part of what we do. We've done a lot of work in this past year working with Cypress Junction Montessori School, developing a curriculum for those students. But we would like to reach out to other schools and educational facilities in the area, working with community groups, HOAs, clubs, anyone that will allow us to talk to them about what residents can do to help protect and preserve their lakes and other natural resources. And finally, the annual lakes report wouldn't be possible without the data that we collect and analyze. So one of the plans for this year is to purchase and install several hydrologic sensors in the area to help close some of the data gaps that we have. So with that, I appreciate being able to stand up here and talk about the report. I urge everyone here to take a look at it, find a lake that you're particularly passionate about, and dig into the data, because you might be interested in what you see. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Commissioner Mercer.
Okay, I have a question. On page 134, we're looking at water quality trends. And for chloroform A, it has increasing, the trends increasing, the direction or what is deteriorating. Can you explain that to me?
Sure. So chlorophyll A, total nitrogen, and total phosphorus are all indicators of impairment. So those are the things that we want to see decreasing in order to be improving with regards to water quality. So that's why there's that increasing and then parentheses deteriorating indicator within that table. So in the long run, we want to see those types of things declining. Decreasing would be an indicator of it improving. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Can you just explain to me though, what is increasing and how is it deteriorating?
So the concentration of chlorophyll A and total nitrogen and total phosphorus in the water column, that's either a measurement of cell structures for chlorophyll A and milligrams per liter of the nitrogen and phosphorus. So if those are decreasing, that means the amount of pollutants in that water body is decreasing, and that's a good thing in the long run.
And what's increasing?
What's that?
The water quality is increasing.
Yeah, so that will end up being a higher score on the lake index, the lake health index. So you'll see the ones that are deteriorating show a score of 0. That is a negative, a lower score than what we would anticipate or want.
Okay. I know that you have on the parameters, the total nitrogen, total phosphorus, you have so many parts per million. Do you still use that?
So parts,
water quality, the higher that is, the higher, the lower the water quality?
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Good.
I'm good.
Anybody else?
I wanted to know where the best places to fish were, but I didn't find that in the place in the report.
That would be Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong.
But if I was smart enough to read the report and understand it in full, all the technical stuff, I'm sure I could.
So I've been told by the fisher folk around here that if you troll along the edge of the aquatic vegetation, the littoral zone, what we call it, that's a good place to get some bass. So the vegetation maps are a guideline. Yeah.
So I got a quick question. It has to do, and I think I ask you this every year, like your jurisdiction, like Lake Haynes is in Lake Alfred and Middle Hamilton and Mariana and Rochelle. How do you determine what lakes? Because like Lake Bess is in the city limits. It's not on your report here. So I'm just curious how you determine what lakes you have jurisdiction over, which ones you don't.
Good question. So the lakes that we do monitor are, there's several characteristics that they have to exhibit in order to get on this list. And that is, one, they need to be a publicly accessible lake. Two, they need to be either within city limits or discharge water to another water body within city limits. So that it means they have to have some sort of connection to a lake on this list to be included in that. Now, we don't necessarily know if all these lakes have connections, whether that be pipes or canals or ditches. So if we find out that Lake Bess or a lake that it's connected to does connect to our area and discharge into the Peace River system, then we would include that in our list.
Well, my point is that like Lake Haynes, that's in Lake Alfred.
Yes.
And Lake Mariana, that's like Auburndale. So it seems like we're kind of taking care of Auburndale and Lake Hamilton, other lakes and other jurisdictions when we have lakes here that aren't. So I'm just curious as to help me to understand that.
So all the work that we've been doing in this report, it's not just the city's work in managing the lakes. So we have partner organizations like Polk County and FWC and FDEP that we work with pretty closely in developing management plans for these water bodies. And while yes, Lake Haynes and Lake Mariana may not be technically within city limits, like I said, they do influence our water bodies by discharging water to them. So we want to make sure that those water bodies are healthy as well. Otherwise, we're not solving the problem at the root source, so to speak.
So is there some controlling interest that tells you this lake is connected to that lake, that's connected to that lake, or do you guys just make that up on your own? Or I mean, I'm sure there's a science behind it. Don't take me wrong. I'm just curious. Is there like some big government lake agency that tells you who's connected to what?
So we utilize what information that we have. So if we know that there's canal systems or stormwater pipes or something that connects to water bodies, we can utilize that as an indicator that there's a connection there, and then we can put eyes on it, ground truth it, and confirm that those lakes do connect.
Well, as just going forward, I would like to see more lakes in Winter Haven, because it sounds like we got a whole bunch of them that you're not really looking at, but we probably should, right? I mean.
So like I said, it would depend on whether or not these lakes are publicly accessible. That's one of the big limiting factors there. So.
Yep. It has to have a public access.
Yes.
Well, that takes Lake Bess out right there.
So ones like Lake Henry, even though they're technically part of the northern chain and discharge water to our water bodies, there's no way for us to actually get out there and do anything to manage for those water.
Okay, I understand now. Okay, I get it. I mean,
Just want to say is, you all do a phenomenal job and you've been doing it for a long time. I've served with you all with the committee for years and years and years. And I do know where to go and catch the fish.
Nat, do you have one of these in your boat?
I can get you some more user-friendly print offs.
Yeah, I know where to go.
but if he tells you, you have to kill you. So that's garden stuff. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate your report.
Yes.
Mayor, if we could have we do need we have a recommendation for the commission to approve resolution R 2326 formally adopting this.
Mr. Mayor.
Will resolution R 2326.
Thank you. We have motion to approve R 2326. I'll close city commission meeting up for public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this item, please do it this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign, opposed, like sign, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, on the ordinance first reading, this is a request by the shops at CECC LLC. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-23 29, an ordinance amending chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida by amending Plan Unit Development Ordinance O-22 60, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, repealing all ordinances in conflict with, and providing an effective date. General location, 2 parcels located east of Country Club Road and lying between Webb Road and Dundee Road, State Road 542. The area covered by this request is 34.72 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
You, City Manager?
The Mayor and Commissioners, the petitioner is requesting to amend PUD O-2260. More specifically, the requested changes are to permit the use of live oak trees as canopy within the commercial parking lot area and yard trees within the multifamily area, to increase the width and reduce the number of plantings for the Dundee Road landscape buffer, to correct a scrivener's error relating to Webb Road landscape buffer, and to increase the maximum lighting intensity on the commercial parking from 2.5 foot candles to 3.0 foot candles. Staff at this point is recommending that this proceed on to second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
move forward to, make a motion to move forward to second reading.
You don't need a motion.
We don't need a
Don't
motion.
need
Nope.
Not on this.
Just move forward.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yes.
On Dundee Road, since it came up, did the state forget the memo on needing somebody to maintain the grass on Dundee Road? Is anybody, I went out, I mean, it's like it's different from this, I get it, but it's relative. Are we supposed to be maintaining that, or is the state maintaining it?
That is not within our maintenance area that I'm aware of, Commissioner Yates. Ours concludes at Lake Elbert. But we can look into that. I assume that project has been turned over now that it's complete, but it may still be under the responsibility of the contractor. Sometimes as they go through final punch lists and such, that can be the case. But we will assess that with DOT and find out where that stands.
And spend all the money to make it pretty, and grass grows and it gets ugly quick. And it's also a navigational issue. It's getting hard to see kind of around some of the turns when you're coming out onto Dundee Road, east or west.
So I've got a quick question for Eric on this particular piece. Eric, I have it on good authority that this property is going to be developed. Are we, maybe you don't know about it, maybe you do, I don't know. I'm concerned about are we increasing the candle light of street lights out there for potential development, or is that going to aggravate people that live out there? Because that seems like that's pretty good, a lot.
I don't anticipate any aggravation from anybody behind this property or near this property. I'm told by lighting professionals that the difference between 2.5 foot candles and 3.0 foot candles is almost imperceptible to the human eye. It's more of meeting a requirement of the particular shopping center for probably insurance purposes, I'm guessing, and liability for what their standard lighting is for their needs.
We're not doing anything by this motion that inhibits something we can do later, right? This is not a slippery slope kind of a deal.
No, this is at the request of the petition.
And we thought it all through, right? It's the way this seems to flow. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll take this up in 2 weeks on July 24th. All right, new business 13A amendment number 2 is a cooperation agreement between the City of Winter Haven and Polk County Board of County Commissioners. This is just you, T, right?
Yes, sir. And this is just a continuation of our cooperation agreement that was approved by the commission with Polk County Housing and Neighborhood Development Office for them to provide the staff resources and other services necessary for planning and administering our CDBG program. We have an agreement that was in place for 2018, 19, and 20. An amendment was made to that in 2020, which carried us through years 21, 22, and 23. So at this point, we have a proposed amendment number 2 to that agreement, which provides for the city's continued participation in the CDBG program We will facilitate projects within the city limits for fiscal year 24, 25, and 26, and the county will provide the administrative oversight. Staff recommends City Commission approve Amendment 2 to the cooperation agreement.
Okay, commissioners? Questions, comments on 13A? Amendment number 2?
Mayor,
Yes,
move approval of new business item 13A, amendment 2.
thank you. We have motion to approve amendment number 2. Close city commission meeting, open public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this amendment, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We open city commission meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments on amendment number 2? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Okay, city commission liaison reports. Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong, would you like to lead us off, please?
I'll lead you off. I only had one event, and that was the Rockin' Freedom Fest, and it was outstanding. Staff did a tremendous job. The crowd was the largest I've seen for a 4th of July celebration at MLK Park. The only crowd that was larger than that was with the ski
show,
the
world tournament.
Yeah, the place was packed. The weather cooperated. The fireworks, how much did we spend? A lot. That's all I want to know. They were good. So it was a great event. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The weather cooperated, and I think everybody had fun.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, so I just have really just the one item as well, and I'll echo Mayor Pro Tem's comments. I would just say, you know, number one, I don't know how you controlled the weather like you did, but you know, when you got the A team working on things, I guess that's what you get. So phenomenal job by the entire staff. I would just be prepared that that event's going to get bigger every year going forward if we do it as good as we did this year. The money spent on the revitalization and of Martin Luther King Park really paid the dividends for this event. I mean, you had music throughout, you had special lighting throughout, you had just you hit all the stops. So I think it's going to get bigger. I think we're going to have, I could see it actually wrapping Lake Silver one day. I think, but
Build the rest of that trail around it. We'll get there though, Commissioner.
So look forward to next year's event.
Okay, Commissioner Mercer?
Yes, I attended the Chamber WIN, it's Women in Network, and I hadn't been there in a long time, so they are networking business networks for women. I also attended Chamber Lunch and Learn, and Pastor Dave Ferry was there from the mission, and it was all about burnout. You have 9 to 10 different styles of burnout. Some said, he said 9, but I think somebody counted 10. Was that right? Yeah. So it was fun. He was a very interesting speaker and kept it lively the whole time. So also I want to say special thanks to Parks and Rec. I did attend the Rocking Freedom Fest, and they did a great job, as they always do. And so I wanted to say thanks to the Lakes Committee for the input, because they are volunteers, and also staff who put a lot of effort into that, and great job. So thank you.
Okay, so I had several things. Today, actually, I went to Polk State and gave a speech or not a speech, more of a talk, to a bunch of middle schoolers. And it was eye-opening to me. These kids were bright and they were intelligent, and had asked a lot of questions. I played Stump the Chump with them, and they asked me tons of questions. I got stumped once. But that was it, just once in an hour. But I will tell you, it's a little alarming. What those kids, at the end of the day, it came up. What they're worried about the most of anything right now is school shootings. And I was sitting there talking to them and I'm like, you know, when I was a kid, I was worried about getting beat up by the big kid. Nothing to do with a gun or a school shooting. And every one of them across the board, that's what's on their mind. And it was just heartbreaking to have them voice that to me, that's what, and they want to know what we and our Winter Haven are going to do about school shootings. And it was heartbreaking. So that's where our youngsters are and that's where they live right now. So, on a higher note, arts and culture or heritage, our arts and culture, we gave away over $1 million to arts organizations, and Theater Winter Haven came in second. We got close to $200,000 for all five of their projects that they asked money for were approved. So Theater Winter Haven's knocking it out of the park. Number one, anybody know? Clock Tower. Yeah, they've got a team of professional grant writers, so they always come in first, but Theater Winter Haven did good. Also did a speech out at Lake Ashton, and again, Sam Killebrew was there. He sat in the audience, but every once in a while he'd pipe up, and we had a good time. It was a good hour-long conversation. Everybody wants to know when we're going to start on Thompson Nursery Road, what that's going to look like. That was the theme of the day, basically, for everybody at Lake Ashton. So, I went to the grand opening ribbon cutting of the veterinarian hospital on Dundee Road, and I don't know if anybody's been out there and seen that place, but that's nicer than a lot of people hospitals. So if somebody breaks a leg and they can't get to Winter Haven Hospital, go there. But it's amazing what that place is for animals. It's on Dundee Road. It used to be, it's Lauren Nations as the vet. He has invested so much time and money, and it is so state of the art. They've got cancer treatments, they got cataract surgeries, they got knee replacements, you name it. They do it on animals out there. And they come from all over the state, get cancer treatments, get their diabetes treated. People bring in these, it's like 80% dogs, 20% cats, but they have 4 full-time vets that work there and do nothing, and are open 24 hours a day. It's sight to behold. If you haven't ever seen, they've got a calm room where the employees can go in and like shut a door and meditate and have a calm music. It's pretty neat. So go out there and look sometime. Of course, we cut the ribbon on the dog park this time last week, and all of us were there for that. And then the last thing was the Rock and Freedom Fest, between the ski show and the concerts and the music and the fireworks. Good job, city staff, all of you guys, bravo. We were really proud to be there. Just happy to be sharing that night with everybody, and didn't see anybody upset at all. So it was a good night. So, okay, that's it for me. How about you, city attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just comparing your comments on that dog hospital. We have several pets, and I've had the occasion to be there, and it is amazing.
Isn't it something?
Yeah, it is something. So
I mean, it's completely sterile too. You got all these animals and
It's
it's like
amazing.
sterile.
I have nothing else this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. City manager.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I unfortunately didn't make this comment earlier when all the staff was here, but you mentioned the 4th of July Rock and Freedom Fest, and Natalie Wilson, who was here earlier, is gone now, but I just want to publicly praise Natalie. And it takes a team to put on all those events, but somebody has to be kind of leading the charge. When you think about how big of an event Juneteenth is, and again, that takes a lot of people as well. And then you follow it up 2 weeks later with Rock and Freedom Fest. That young lady has done an outstanding job for us, and I just want to make sure that I publicly comment on the great work that she has done. Very proud to have her on the team and for what she's doing. Just a reminder that we are scheduled next Wednesday is part of our session on our agenda review session. We will do a budget briefing or a budget presentation for the proposed fiscal year 23-24 annual budget. I'll be doing some briefings with the commission this week, but just want to remind you that will occur next Wednesday evening. We will cover everything in that budget review except for the utilities budget, much in the same fashion as we did last year. I will bring that back to you in August. That is a very complicated piece and really needs to stand alone, in my opinion. And it gives us a little bit more time to vet that out. It will not preclude you from doing your tentative millage passage. So we can file that before the August 4th deadline, because their budget is based on their user fees and their grant dollars coming in. There's not an ad valorem component to it. So just wanted to alert you to that. And this Friday, I will be away from the office attending the Greater Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce Annual Strategic Planning Retreat as a ex officio member of their board of directors. So while I'm out on Friday, Mr. Carnavale will be handling affairs here at the office. So I would say take it easy on him, but why bother? You don't take it easy on me, so have at it.
Oh, baptism by fire. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the Ritz Theater also got $50,000 from the Arts and Council from the TDC. And they were thrilled to get it. Let me tell you. It's a foregone conclusion that Theater Winter Haven's gonna knock it out of the park. It has not been a foregone conclusion for the Ritz. We haven't given them money for years, and this is the first time they've qualified, and they got close to 50 grand, and they were so excited. So go Ritz. All right. Assistant City Manager,
Nothing this evening, thanks.
City Clerk,
Nothing this evening.
emergency matters not received for the agenda. Motion to adjourn. Adjourn.